Enter Talk Radio. You're in to all things music.
Welcome to Music Gear Talk. Discover the tech that inspires the pros and powers today's music industry.
Oh, yeah, it's another episode of Music Gear Talk on Enter Talk Radio, the leader in music gear talk, and that's why we have this show. Is we love to talk to companies about gear, and we've got a great company here right now online with us, Mr. Joe and Jack, and I'm going to hopefully pronounce this last name right, Napoli.
Napoli, correct. Very
wow.
Good. Like the city of Naples. Very good.
And I'm Florentino, like the city of Florence. So
Florence.
We're
very good.
We're all going back to Italy on this one. Actually, all it makes me hungry thinking about Italian food, man. It's almost getting lunchtime here.
Yeah. We just had we actually just had some lunch. We're very big into food and cooking. We actually make as a hobby. My brother and I actually make our own wine as well.
Oh, okay, that's awesome. I just had a guest named Ambrose, so I mean, we're just welcome to Enter Talk Food Network.
Yeah. Well, musicians have to eat too, and so do the techs.
You know what? You know what's funny? That is after they talk gear, food is the next one. We had Liberty DeVito on one of our shows, and that's all he would do was
wow.
Oh, you know Liberty, so yeah.
Actually, I'm a drummer by trade. Actually, my brother and I formed a band when we were kids, and basically Jack came home one day. He was like, "Oh, I'm playing guitar. I'm forming a band. You're my drummer." And he handed me a pair of sticks, and then I became a drummer. And years later, at the Long Island Drum Center, after Liberty, after Billy Joel went to Russia and the wall fell, remember that all those years ago?
Yeah.
He came to the Long Island Drum Center, and he wanted to give back to the community, and so he gave a few master classes, very short list, and the owner of the drum center and I were good friends, and he said, Joe, I think this would be great for you, and I'm like, yeah, terrific, and I actually got to study with him, and he taught me the opening lick to Only the Good Die Young, and that was, so he's a very nice fellow, great drummer. Love the way he plays.
Oh, he's just a sweetheart, and he brought us in on the Hired Gun movie. We've been working with him and Fran on that stuff.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, we were one of the promotional arms for them on that. So I mean, we could talk all day, man. We're going to talk a little bit about your company, Analog Alien.
Sure.
So this segment, we like people to know who you are, the heart, the passion, why you started what you started. Tell us a little bit about it. What got you guys going on with this, especially a drummer doing guitar stuff?
Right.
Yeah. Take it away, Joe.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so basically, Florentino, what happened here was that we, like as kids, we formed a band. We built a home recording studio and did it for years and years. And at one point, I had gotten to be pretty good at engineering on top of the drumming thing. So my brother and I decided, okay, let's do it for real. And we, along with our dad, built a recording studio called Cloud 9 Recording, and it's here on Long Island. And I guess just to give it a scale, it's just 2 rooms, control room and a main room, floating room, non-parallel wall construction, complete omni-fuse ceilings, bi-directional diffusion. So that was our passion. This is what we did. We sunk our life into it, and we ran and still run the studio to this date. In the course of becoming an engineer and producing and writing and just working with a bunch of bands here on the island and from all over, actually, I'd always run into the biggest trouble of getting a really great guitar sound. Drums I had down, everything was great, but guitars were really tough. Noted that my brother's a fine player and over the years developed a tremendous collection of amazing guitars and amplifiers, which we still have here at the studio. You'd get all of these kids coming in from the outside world, and inevitably they all created these unbelievable pedal boards, like more pedals than you could possibly imagine on every board configuration you could think of. And honestly, at the end of the day, we had a huge collection of pedals, even though my brother had kind of abandoned that and always got a sound from a guitar and an amp. And I just kind of gravitated toward that. I didn't want to use pedals because every time I used them, it just sucked the life and the personality out of every single guitar that they got plugged into them. So at one point, my brother Jack just said, "You know what, Joe? I'm going to come up with our own pedal. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Come up with our own pedal. There's a billion things to do in the studio every day. I didn't have time. He came back with this little box, and he plugged it in, and it made a glorious sound for about 5 minutes and then just died. And I said, well, if you could get it to last for more than 5 minutes, you might have something. 2 months later, after he really worked out all the bugs, he came into the studio with a box that later became the Fuzz Bubble 45, which is an overdrive and a fuzz pedal that we created. It's our first pedal. And basically, we plugged into it, and I'm like, Jack, this thing's amazing. Like, it's got a big range of sounds. Every guitar you plug into it sounds like that guitar, so that gives you like another array of sounds. So just by switching out guitars and just going to a straight clean amp, like maybe an Orange Rocker 30 or a Stovetech Midget 50 is it?
Yeah,
and through a little 10-inch cabinet, we were getting like super various sounds. It was awesome. So at that point, this is almost 10 years ago.
Yeah. A while ago.
These kids came in, every time a band came in, these young kids, I'd be like, look, do me a favor, just plug into this, trust me. And it was just this plain silver box. So after about a year of that, every single person who plugged into that pedal wanted that pedal. And they were like, build me one. And I was like, good luck with that. Because when Jack actually built it, he actually took the design and etched his own board. So it wasn't like we had these things made. It was literally, it's a bare copper board. He drew the circuit. You wash that off with acid, and then you literally have to drill out every single little hole in the board for every single component that goes on it, and then make the pedal. So, no, I wasn't going to build pedals like that by hand. After about a year and dozens of requests, my brother's like, look, I think we should go into business. And then we just sat around and pondered names and styles and what we think the pedals should look like, et cetera, and that's how it started. And I am going to go on just for another minute, Jack, and then let you talk.
Oh, okay.
I had to give credit to one person. This man's name is Glenn Coleman of Coleman Audio. He's a very good friend of my brother's and I, and we met him about 20 years ago now when we opened up Cloud9 Recording, and I quickly went through my ADATs. I knew I couldn't run a professional recording studio with that. Pro Tools wasn't quite ready 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And we needed we purchased an MCI JH24 2-inch analog deck, which we still have and use. And Glenn Coleman maintains, because he was a gentleman who worked for MCI, the original MCI, down in Miami, and he built the machines and the consoles, and then later was the troubleshooter for the company and traveled the globe repairing anything that was MCI.
And they're still around. So I still see the decks around.
Yeah, they still
we
work.
Have one.
Yeah, Glenn, it's sitting right here, and Glenn keeps it running like a top for us. And the reason I bring Glenn up is because while he was here one day to fix the deck, actually Joan Jett was coming in, and we got the gig to transfer I Hate Myself for Loving You, and it pretty much up your alley. I'm pretty sure that was pretty much the whole record we did. And we actually remixed that song here for Guitar Hero for the game.
Oh, that's awesome.
In doing so, we were, unbeknownst to me, thanks to Kenny Laguna, Joan's manager, who's a wonderful guy, we were entitled to platinum records. So we actually have platinum records hanging in the wall for the remix of the actual song that actually went on to the game. It was the Aerosmith version, I believe. They said if there was going to be one woman, they wanted a female artist in the game, and Aerosmith said, well, if it's going to be on with us, it's got to be Joan Jett. So that's what happened. Anyway, while Glenn was here to tweak out the machine, he said, hey, did you ever go ahead and manufacture that pedal you were talking about? Because we had spoken to him about it, and because he has his own company, et cetera, and he gave us some pointers. And when he saw the product and how we packaged it in a tin lunchbox and we a bottle of soap bubbles, et cetera, Glenn looked at it and just said, did you ever hear of a place called Nam? I don't mean Vietnam. I mean Nam.
Nam show.
And I'm like, yeah, and that's that big show out in California. And he goes, yeah. He goes, you're going. And I said, no, we're not. And for about 6 months, he was just on us every day to go to the show. And we're like, Glenn, we got one little pedal. Like, what? Trust me, you're going to go. So he let us go into his booth. He just wouldn't take no for an answer. So we did it. And lo and behold, this coming next week, we'll be out in the NAMM show for 2018, and it will be our 7th show because we started 2012.
That is awesome.
So anyway, yeah, that's how it started, and it was one thing after another, and then Yeah, it was. We just came up with the Alien Twister, which is a fuzz pedal that we created, which is also is a wonderful overdrive sound as well. Everything we do, we try to make do more than one thing. We don't, we were always under the concept of like, as much bang for the buck as you can. We've been buying gear since we're kids, and that's what you need to. We've always felt that it's. As a consumer, you really want, you're laying out money for something. You really want to make sure that you're getting as much out of it as you can. And as far as all the little giveaways and stuff that we do, like hot sauce with the Twister and bubbles with the fuzz bubble and the cooler bags that we pack our stuff in, we're really big fans of Cracker Jack when we were kids,
Yeah.
So that little toy surprise meant something.
That's fun stuff.
That's basically how that happened. And as things went on, we developed a pedal called the Rumble Seat, which is an overdrive, delay, and reverb pedal, which is actually our biggest selling pedal. So many people just use it, and it's been one thing after another. And I guess a big break with that was when Stevie Wonder, several years ago during the 50th anniversary tribute Beatles, actually used it to overdrive his clavinet keyboard on stage during the tribute, and with Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr and all that. And so it was amazing. We got the phone call from his assistant Lamar Mitchell and said, "Guys, are you sitting down?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, because we had given one. They ran into us at the show at NAMM, which, again, people always argue the point of whether or not trade shows are worth it. You could do a lot of stuff on the internet these days, but you totally do not get that human contact, and that would never have happened if Stevie didn't happen to visit the booth right next door to us, ultrasound headphones it was. And he literally walked by. My brother was playing, demoing the pedals, and Lamar did a U-turn and said, "Dudes, what do you got? This stuff sounds great." So we had given him a Rumble Seat, and then it was that weekend was the Grammys, and 2 days later he did the tribute to the Beatles show, and he did We Can Work It Out, and there it was, sitting right next to his harmonica, right there on stage with him. Right on top of the keyboard, awesome. And it was like unbelievable. And that really, I think that really kind of put us over.
That was quite a moment.
Yeah. The NAMM show for sure is definitely, it's not like typical trade shows. I've been in other industries, before I approached the radio. All of us here are musicians and stuff like that. But, we always, you'd want to go, but then life takes you in different areas. But as trade shows go, that's the one that really makes a difference. And we're actually partners with the folks at NAMM in the broadcasting. And so we definitely support everything they do. And they really make it to where we have an industry. They help foster the education systems. They help foster the passion for the gear that people are buying, like your gear, and they keep it going. And in fact, industry wise, you've got some Stevie Wonder is definitely no name to scoff at, and you've got some other players. You got Pino Palladino, who is definitely I admire. I'm a bass player, so I admire. Pino just being so diversified and just an amazing player. And then, of course, Joe Walsh. So tell us a bit of how you got those relationships.
That's how we met
Pino. We got
Pino
through Joe Walsh.
Through Joe Walsh. Joe got a hold of our Rumble Seat pedal.
Okay.
Back when he was touring with the Eagles still. Glenn Fry was still alive. And he bought 3 of them. And he just took them on the road. And he just loved the pedal. And because it has an overdrive that he liked and a delay and a reverb. And then when he got off the road one day, we just got a phone call from him, and he said, "It's Joe Walsh, who am I talking to?" And we're like, "This better not be a joke, And he just introduced himself, and he said, he was a fan of the pedals, and we said thank you and the whole bit. And then he said, I'd like to work with you, would you design a pedal with me? And basically, he didn't really we designed what he wanted, and it started off with a compressor because he was never really happy or satisfied with any stomp box compressor that he would use live. He would basically use an 1176 live, which was awkward to manipulate because he's constantly, if you watch him, and we've been to sound checks. I mean, we've seen him a lot. He always invites us to the shows and everything, and he's always tweaking the pedals constantly during a performance.
Hey guys, I'm gonna interrupt you here. We've got that commercial break sound coming up, so we're gonna take a few minutes to pause for the cause. We'll be right back with Joe and Jeff and Florentino.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on intertalkradio.com.
Welcome to Music Gear Talk. Discover the tech that inspires the pros and powers today's music industry.
Righty. We are back on Music Gear Talk, powered by the mighty Intertalk Radio. Connect to all things music. And we want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Pitbull Audio at pitbullaudio.com. One of the largest collection of guitar pedals, and we're going to introduce those folks to our good friends here at Analog Alien. And it's going to be a good time. And then of course SIR, who does the back line and a lot of front line for most of the major tours that go on. If you're going on tour, there's a good chance that at some point you're going to be using SIR, and we definitely love them over there at SIR-USA.com. And we are going to be back with Joe and Jack here, and we're going to talk a little bit about the rest of the story with Joe Walsh. So continue away, gentlemen.
Okay, so Joe, he wanted a compressor at first, and so we designed one for him that he fell in love with, and then he just basically said, you guys are known for doing more than one thing to a pedal or with a pedal. You have more than one effect, like you did with the Rumble seat. He said, I'm thinking we should add something else. So we said, well, what would you like? And he said, well, what would you do for me? I said, well, we can kind of just do a take on an older Tweed amp for you, because I know, we've followed Joe's career since we were kids. So he was very intrigued by that, and we did that, and we met him in New York City with a prototype when he was in the middle of a tour with the Eagles back in, I think it was 2015. And that was it. We started to check out the pedal, right in his hotel room, and he said, we've got it, let's do it. And then after that, he introduced us to The Who and just so many other people, just through his kindness. And he's been very good to us, and we just really honestly can't say enough about him. And he just, the business started really taking off from that point. Stevie Wonder and then into Joe Walsh.
You can't ask for anything better than that, right, guys?
No, you can't really.
Testimony and endorsers, that's pretty much the top of the tops. Yeah, one of our show hosts, Jackie Bertoni, has done a lot of session work with Joe, and he says nothing but great things about him. He said, just a natural guy, not hard, gets out on stage and if his guitar is not there, it's like, I'll just use this one. He doesn't.
Yeah.
He's not the kind of guy that's gonna. He's not the prima donna from. As
we actually made a guitar for him too, just to say thank you. We made two yellow Telecasters that are in the same color as the pedal, and because what do you say to a guy like that, or he's Joe Walsh, so.
Right. He's Joe Walsh.
So just as a thank you, we gave it to him, and he was real touched by that. But he's a good guy.
Yeah, he says he uses it a lot in the studio.
He won't take it out. He doesn't want to take it on the road because he doesn't want
to get rep because it's like all shiny and sparkly, just like the yellow pedal that we make for him. The Joe Walsh Double Classic.
Exactly. Well, speaking of the pedals, let's talk a little bit about those. Let's talk about some of the specs and the features on some of that stuff. You've got, I see 3 right now. You mentioned you got the rumble seat, you got the Joe Walsh Double Classic. I'm a bass player, so obviously I'm going to be a little bit more partial to the Alien bass station. But let's talk about the pedals. So let's start off with Joe's. What are some of the things that kind of that you've used to kind of set this one apart?
Well, a couple of things is the compressor design is a little unique in that you can open up the ratio and increase the sensitivity control, which isn't a threshold, it's actually a voltage regulator. And you can use the compressor as a clean boost, which he often does. He'll compress with it too, but he'll often drive like older, smaller vintage amps with it. So it's kind of has a dual function there. And the other thing that he really wanted to see that makes the pedal very versatile is a pre-post switch. So you could put the compressor pre and post the classic amplifier circuit that's in it. So you could actually use the compressor as a booster into the classic amp. Or you could also run the classic amp into the compressor. And the reason why he wanted to see that was he told us when he uses the wireless system live, if he hits because of the compression expansion within the transmitter and the receiver of the wireless system, which is inherent in one, if he hit a compressor first, he'd lose too much high end and he'd always have to EQ. So he said if I could hit the classic amp first and just push it into the compressor, because that would just like make up for a whole bunch of things. So that's one of the things, or a couple of the things that's very unique about the pedal. And he's not much of a fuzz guy at all. He's like Pete Townsend in that way, and Keith Richards. They have more of that open, dynamic guitar sound where you really hear each note when they're strumming the chords. And Joe's, he comes from that school too. So fuzz was like out of the question for him. So he, our pedals, especially that pedal, but all of them really, they're not personality vacuums, with suckers. They don't suck the personality out of the guitar and the player's performance. You can really hear the individual style of the player, which is what a good guitar and a good amp should do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And in fact, my partner that we started this network with, he's a huge guitar player. That was always his complaint about pedals, is that, damn, it sucks the life out of this. It's a cool sound, but there's no life. So I don't know. He's listening in right now. He might at some point want to give this one a try, especially the fact that he's a Joe Walsh big fan. Yeah. So
well, a lot of like the designs are inspired by our studio. Really, it's just working in the studio and working with various guitarists of different styles.
Genres.
Yeah, it was in genres. Yeah, it was just a kind of a pet peeve with all of them. It was the same thing with the bass station. There was a couple of bass players. One guy's name is Alan Proda. He's a good session player up here in New York. And Danny Miranda, who's he's been with Meatloaf for a while now. And
Queen,
Paul
too.
Rogers. Yeah, they did the
Queen,
We Will Rock You Vegas thing.
Okay.
And the bass station kind of came about as the result of just talking to these guys and them saying, no one really makes a pedal for a bass player. It's kind of like an afterthought with most companies, and every time I step on one, there goes my bass sound, and that's what led to the bass station.
Well, that is awesome, because I used to, I was fascinated by having a pedal board for a while, and then I realized I didn't use much of it because it just, like I said, I kept the tones, when I was doing a lot more playing, I kept the tones pretty natural. And there's a couple of things that I've kept, just for certain things, but definitely, pedals for bassist, there really has to be, they just have to be super good. You can't really, guitars you can kind of cheap out every so often on some stuff, but you can't do that with bass.
Yeah. No, it's part of the foundation of the track. I mean, it really needs to be there and have all its dynamic range and all its texture and tonality, and whatever it is that
Joe's
you're doing.
bass player uses it too, Larry Young. He plays with it as well. And so does Tim LaFay from Tedeschi and Trucks.
Oh, yeah.
Tim is like a huge Pino fan too, but he's a sweetheart of a guy. I mean, we know him pretty well, and we always go to the sound checks and the shows. Susan uses the fuzz bubble. She's been using the fuzz bubble for 2 or 3 years now straight on stage and in the studio.
Wow.
And in fact, we just pitched them the new Power Pack, which is a 15 dB clean boost, and Derek is actually starting to use that in the studio.
Oh,
so that was really, because he is like, those two are the sweetest people. The whole band is just like the nicest
I've heard good things
you'll
about
ever want to meet.
Yeah,
and he is like a monster like player. I mean, he's fantastic. So they even have him like look at the pedal was like an honor.
Yeah, that was an honor. It was.
I mean, he's been doing
really.
such a young age too. This is crazy.
Yeah, it is.
So that's definitely. Well, that's cool. And let's kind of go through there. You've got, like you mentioned, we talked about the Joe Walsh Double Classic. We're talking a bit about the Alien Base Station, Rumble Seat. But you've got like what, 8 pedals? I'm looking at 9 pedals.
Yeah, I think
9
so
pedals,
now.
right? Or 9 products.
Yeah, we have the switcher, and the bucket seat is the overdrive section of the rumble seat, and it's we just got a lot of requests for it. Guys would call or email, not call really, and they would just say, basically it was basically the same email. It was, I have an old tape echo that I love, and the reverb is on my old Fender amp, but can you just give me the rumble drive section of this pedal? And you couldn't, just because of the way the pedal was designed. So that prompted us to. And led to just coming up with the bucket seat, and the Power Pack was just a valuable tool. It's a really awesome clean boost. You can boost any amp with it cleanly, and it's also a great makeup gain stage because of the internal buffering in it. When you're using pedals too, sometimes, a lot of times when guys put pedal boards together, they don't really understand the mechanics of what's the electronics of what's going on. So that makes up for a multitude of sins.
Yeah, we call my partner Quagmire because he's always trying to figure out where the pedals fit. hey guys, this is because it's a short interview. It's really kind of a precursor to NAMM.
Yes.
Where's your booth at over there?
We are, and I knew you were going to ask that, so I made sure to pull it up on my phone. Yeah. We're actually in the new hall, which everybody should come and check out. They actually added another football field, literally, to the Anaheim Convention Center. So we're in ACC, Anaheim Convention Center North, Level 1, in booth 16311.
Definitely.
We're next to Coleman Audio.
Yeah, We're right next to Coleman Audio.
Well, folks, you got to go over there if you're going to be making it to the NAMM show. Check them out. And go to their website, www.analogalien.com. Make sure you check that out because we've got about 30 seconds left on this episode. So actually, it's coming up really quick. One quick thought. What do you want people to leave with after the show? Oh, there we go. My timing's terrible. I guess we don't have time for that. We're going to have to bring you back. We've got another show we want to bring you on. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, though. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be right back with the next episode.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?